back to Speaking with Confidence, the podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on your journey to becoming a powerful communicator. If you feel overwhelmed, distracted, and constantly on, but never fully focused, this conversation is going to change how you think about productivity and simplicity. Today's guest is Mark Struczewski. Hopefully I said that right, Mark. Mark is better known as Mr. Productivity. Mark is a Houston-based productivity coach and host of the Mr. Productivity podcast with over 1,350 episodes, helping professionals conquer overwhelm and reclaim focus. After being fired from corporate America, he turned that setback into a calling, building a thriving coaching practice rooted in faith, daily running discipline, and practical systems that save clients 30% or more of their time. Mark's no-nonsense style blends real-world grit with grace-filled wisdom to help high achievers live with clarity and purpose. Mark, welcome to Speaking with Confidence.
Tim, thank you so much for having me here. And I guess the first time didn't work out. So sometimes you got to do it over again. And that's good because This interview is going to be way better than the first one we did.
Oh, absolutely. It's gonna be way better. And I actually love doing it twice because like you said, not only is it going to be better, but we're going to be able to talk about things maybe even a little bit deeper than we did the first time. And with that, let's start with the daily running discipline because when you say, and I hear other people say I do it every day. And what does that mean? That means that you do it every day, right? So talk about that daily running discipline, how it got started and what that actually does for you throughout your day.
It all started back in 2017. We had a hurricane visit Houston called Hurricane Harvey, and it stayed for 3 days. Apparently it liked the Houston area, and it dumped 51 inches of rain on us in 3 days. And although my wife and I, where we live on the west side of Houston, we got maybe a couple feet in the street. We didn't get our house flooded, but you couldn't go anywhere. The whole city was shut down. And during that weekend, I happened to read an article on runnersworld.com that said, what I learned from running 1 mile a day for 250 days. And I told my wife, I said, I could do that. And so after the storm started moving east on August 29th, I went out for my first run, which then became 100 days and then 1,000 days. And I'm over 3,000 days in a row and counting. I'm 60 years young. And running is such an integral part of my life. I'm not doing it to impress anyone. I'm already married to the woman of my dreams. So I'm not out there to impress anyone. I'm not trying to break records. I'm just running because when my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's back in 2018, that was a wake-up call for me. She lost her battle in 2022 because I was not taking care of myself at all. And her getting diagnosed kind of like shook me. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to start taking better care of myself. Now, she was diagnosed in 2018. When I started in 2017, a year prior, I had no idea how long it would go. But now I'm still going, and I have no plans on stopping.
And so what does that daily discipline mean for you throughout your day? I mean, because we're not just talking about the basic physiological health benefits anymore at this stage. Yes, those are still there. But what does that daily discipline mean for you over any given day?
Well, one of the things I share with my clients when they tell me, I can't do that, that's too difficult. I'm like, look, I've run at least 1 mile for over 8.5 years. And so I do all these, like I take a cold shower every day. I walk 15,000 steps every day. And the reason why I do this is so when I'm coaching my clients, I can say, look I started doing something that was hard and now it's easy for me. One of my favorite authors is Robin Sharma. He wrote the 5 a.m. Club, which is why I get up so early in the morning. I don't get up at 5. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But he says, all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. The problem is when people start any new habit, it's hard. And they want to skip to the gorgeous part. You can't. You have to go through hard, messy, and gorgeous. That's the way life hands it to you. Yeah. And so what I do with my clients, I tell them, I'm 60. I've been running every day for 8.5 years. I don't want to hear excuses. And I tell you this much, Tim, I have studied successful people. It's one of my obsessions is origin stories. I'm reading a book by Will Smith right now. Not one of those people got to where they are by making excuses. So I want to practice what I preach.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that. And I talk about this a lot. My background really comes from the sport industry, and I use athletes kind of as the backdrop here. You can look at the greatest players of all time and their work ethic, right? But even let's just say a journeyman Major League Baseball player, journeyman NBA player, they didn't get to be that good by just going to the gym twice a week and shooting or taking batting practice or this, that, or the other thing. They focus on something and they do it every single day, in season, off season, and they're constantly working on their craft, and it's building that daily discipline of maybe some of the basic things that allows them to be able to do some of the higher level things even better.
I once heard a story about Kobe Bryant that the day after they won the championship, he was back in the gym, and people were like, "What are you doing? We just won the championship. There's next season." And I just think that is so incredible. He was not focused on what happened last night. He was focused on the next season.
Right. That's how we got to be Kobe Bryant. Right. I mean, that's how we know his name. That's just kind of how it is. And, I think if we could impress upon, especially the younger generations, start developing good habits, and good habits you do every day. And what does that mean? It means every day. It's not, take a rest day. It's you do them every day. And whether it's reading, whether it's running, whether it's, eating healthy, whether it's drinking water, whatever that is, if you start developing one habit and do it every day, then you can start developing other habits as well. But you have to start with one.
Mm-hmm. And James Clear talks about in his fantastic book, Atomic Habits, which I think people should not only read, they should read it every year or every other year. It's that good of a book. He has a principle that says never miss twice. I operate under never miss once. Do you think I'm going to take a day off from running when I have well over 3,000 days running?
Right.
No. A rest day for me is a very slow 1 mile run. So I want people to don't go to, well, I can miss once. No, try not to miss it all. So whether you're going to post on your favorite social media site every day, you're going to write your book every day, you're going to work out every day, do it safely, but try not to miss a day, because what happens is we're human beings. One day becomes 2 days, becomes 3 days, and all of a sudden you haven't worked out for 2 weeks because you took the never miss twice, and now never miss 2 weeks apparently.
Right. And especially when it comes to working out, you think, oh man, it's 2 weeks. I'm really not interested in going through that pain again. So I get it. But let's talk about, some young things that young professionals are going through today. And what's the real reason they feel constantly overwhelmed? And it's not just about time management, is it?
No, number one, they have I think FOMO is a pandemic in our world today. Everybody wants to be checking on all the social media websites, and they always have to know what's going on, because what if I miss something? I was born in 1965, and for the first 20 years of my life, there was no cell phones, there was no internet, and you found out when you found out. So I think FOMO is not an epidemic. I think it's a pandemic. The other problem is people are people pleasers. We don't want to say no to people. Well, here's the thing. If you study successful people like I have, they say no way more than they say yes, because they have priorities. These are the most important things I'm going to do. You ask me to do something, doesn't align. The answer is no. And I think those two things, FOMO and always saying yes, are big problems for any generation, not just the younger generation.
Yeah, that's so important. And you and I are right around the same age. I'm 58, and I remember when we got our first, answering machine, right? But before we got an answering machine, we had call waiting, and my father said, "We're not getting call waiting, because if I'm on the phone or somebody's on the phone, the people that are calling, they can wait till I get off the phone and call again. So I'm not clicking over." Then we got the answering machine, and now we're carrying these things that are called phones, and especially the younger generations don't use the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They're
No, they don't.
using texting, they're using social media, and trying to get them to understand that the easiest way to get ahead is to dial that number and actually talk to the person that you want to talk to.
I can beat you because I remember when there was no call waiting. And your caller ID is when you picked up the phone and say hello.
Hello.
I mean, so I'm going back that far. I mean, I remember the corded line on. This is before wireless, kids.
Yep.
This is when you had the cord on. The phone was on the wall, and you had long cord. And if I want to talk to my girlfriend, I had to, take the cord and go around because we had one phone. My mom used to yell at me, "You're stretching the cord. You're gonna pull the phone off." So that's how old I am.
That's awesome. Yeah. Those were the days, right? But it's the younger generation could understand the whole idea of what we just talked about, saying no, and saying no in a way that's a powerful way to say no, not just no to be a jerk, not just not ghosting people, but saying no and why you're saying no and still providing value. Like, if your friend asks you to go out and you've got to go to work, I got to get up early for work tomorrow. Let's do it Friday. Let's do it Saturday. When we can actually go out and have some fun. I need to get my rest so I can be productive at work tomorrow. Right. Mm-hmm. There's ways to be able to do that, that they really need to understand.
I have been speaking a lot about boundaries, and the joke in my house is my boundaries are about 25 foot high, 10 foot thick. They're reinforced with rebar. I have a moat around my boundaries with alligators. I have snipers on top of my boundaries, and I have a Star Wars missile defense system up in the sky. And so what does that mean in real life? If you were to ask me, "Hey, Mark, can you help me move this weekend?" Nope. I don't have to think about it because I have strong boundaries. Again, It goes back to, is this going to help me or hurt me? I'm 60 years young. What if I pull a muscle and I can't run the next day? Or what if I can't get on a client call, come in pain? So a lot of people I talk to, both as clients and people I see on social media, and even in my friends, they have really teeny tiny, like an inch high boundaries. I said, you got to grow your boundaries. How do you do that? It takes practice. You have to decide, I'm going to start building my boundaries, and you're going to tick people off along the way. And that's okay. But it's about your sanity. You can't be productive if you don't have boundaries.
Yeah, and you don't have to give them a story about it either. It's just
Thank you for saying that. Everybody thinks they have to justify. Why can't you help me move? The answer is no. I don't have to justify. I remember before I got fired in corporate America back in 2005, when I asked for personal time off, PTO, personal time off, my boss would ask me, "What are you going to do?" It's called personal time off. And he used to get so angry when I said it's personal. He wanted to know. You don't have to justify why you said no. Now, if you're saying no to your boss, that's not what we're talking about here.
Right. But what are your hacks, which I really love, is simply getting to the point. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. But specifically with written communication and emails, why do so many emails, meetings, and presentations say in 10 minutes what could be said in one?
I don't know. Maybe they're aspiring writers. I mean, the example I like to use is, let's say your office needs to close an hour early because the power company's got to shut the power off because they got to do some work. Well, that could be all in the subject line. Office closing at 4 p.m. You don't need to go through the why and the power company and the guy who called you. People are wasting time. I'm not going to say taking, I'm going to say wasting time, giving you more information you need to know. We've all seen those emails where you start reading it, you're scrolling like, oh my gosh, where's the point of this? And I think you should try to get it in the subject line, like meeting today moved to 2 p.m. Okay. Right. Leave the email, leave the rest of the body empty. Or if you got to explain it, maybe one or two sentences. I say, stick to the point, get to the point, stick to the point. So many people like to go, I live in Houston, and if I wanted to go to San Antonio, I'm not going to go east to Florida and across the ocean, to France, to Asia, to Japan, to LA to San Antonio. I'm going to go from Houston to San Antonio. A lot of people, when they write or they have meetings, they just go on and on and on, and they wonder why the meetings are not effective, because you're talking about things that don't even matter. So get to the point, stick to the point. And while I'm on that, if you've got 4 things to share with somebody, you send 4 emails.
4 emails.
Because they're going to see that first thing and they're going to stop, do that thing, and forget about the other 3. So 4 things to do, 4 emails.
4 emails. Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that, because as you're talking, that's kind of what I'm thinking. If you got 1 thing, 1 email, 2 things, whatever it is, like you said, if there's 4 things, 4 emails, because again, like you said, it's top of mind, and then you can start clicking things off, right? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to address that. I'm going to address that. And then when it comes to having meetings, only the people that are involved in whatever should be talking about should be involved in that meeting, right? I think, we invite 17 people to a meeting that affects 5, and the other 12 are kind of sitting around going, they've checked out, and they leave an hour meeting. Now I've just wasted an hour, and I've got this one long email with 17 things in it, and that really kind of blows a whole morning or whole afternoon. You've just wasted.
We've all been in those meetings. I have been in those meetings when I was in corporate America. I would go to the meeting. They wouldn't ask me a single question. So why am I here? My boss was there and I'm there. Well, he could have given me the highlights. So people, I think meeting planners need to, talk to me. You need to be careful. You need to take a lesson from Steve Jobs. I remember the story I read in Walter Isaacson's book about Steve Jobs. He was giving a presentation about the new iPad they're going to come out with. And he was in there talking about it, and he stopped in mid-sentence. He noticed a woman was there. And I feel so sorry for this woman. He goes, "What are you doing here?" I mean, it's the typical Steve Jobs charisma. And she goes, "Well, my boss told me to come here." He goes, "We will not be needing you." And he waited for her to get up and leave. I mean, I think that's kind of cold. Don't do that to your employers, or your employees. But when you're talking to people and you're going to have a meeting, say, "No, we really have a meeting," make sure you only invite the people who absolutely need to be there. Because if somebody else needs to know what's going on, but they're not going to contribute, guess what? You can send out their specific tasks. You can send out meeting minutes or something like that. But I've been to meetings where there's like 50 people in there and only 2 people talk. Then what are we all doing there?
Right. And then what ends up happening, right? The other people that are sitting around, they start digging in their phone. They start playing on the computer or on their iPad or whatever it is. And now you've upset people because you're not paying attention in a meeting that you shouldn't even be in. Right. And so there's backlash there, but let's dive into a little bit about that. If you're talking to somebody, and this is something that bothers me. You're talking to somebody and they get a text message and they stop. Hold on a second. I've got to check this text message, or I got to read this email, or whatever. What's your take on that? Because that to me is instant aggravation.
Well, the first time it happens, I let them do their thing. And if they tell me keep going, I'm like, "No, I'll wait till I see your eyeballs. That's why I know you're paying attention." And when they finish, I'm like, "Oh, so what did the president have to say?" I'm like, "What do you mean the president?" Well, obviously it was that important, right? That we're having a great conversation. So it must have been the leader of your country that texted you or sent you an email. And they're like, "Don't be so stupid." I'm like, "No, you're being inconsiderate right now, because I'm right in front of you. I'm literally 2 feet away from you, and you stopped communicating with me to answer your phone." So I don't do that. When I go out to a restaurant with my wife, put the phone on, do not disturb, because I'm there having lunch with her. I don't care what's happening out in the world. Okay. People need to understand that our phones are not more important than human beings. I don't care who I'm in front of. They're in front of me. They have given me the gift of their presence, whether it's for lunch, a networking event, whatever. They are more important than anything that happens on my phone. That's why one of the things on my phone I have disabled is vibration mode, because you can put your phone in mute, put it in your pocket, you get a text or a call or email, then your phone vibrates. So turn off vibration mode. That way you are not going to be distracted.
Yeah. And again, I'm so glad that you said that your presence is what is so important, and that value. And so that whoever that person or group of people 2, 3, 5, whatever it is, they need to think that they are the most important thing that's going on. Because if you're giving them that kind of attention, the value that's going back and forth, the ideas, the conversation, whatever it is more likely than not going to, number one, going to produce something so much better than somebody not paying attention or walking away. And the other thing about that is there's actually a biological or a physiological response that happens to you when you get a text message. Okay, you get a hit of dopamine, which makes you feel good. Okay, if you're on the other side of that, they get hit with the thing that says pain.
Yes,
like if you were to stick yourself with a needle, it's the same response, it's the same chemical,
right?
And that's lost on me. But that's what happens. So think about that the next time you're talking to somebody and you get a text message. It may make you feel good, but it's actually causing pain to the people that you're interacting with.
It is. And listen, I'm a professional speaker.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really weird if I'm up there giving my presentation. I stop. Oh, I got to take this check. That would be weird. People go, that's weird. Well, you're doing the same thing. So the only difference is I'm not speaking to a room full of people. I'm speaking to one person, but I don't care if it's 1 or 100 or 1,000. You stay focused on who's in front of you, not what's on your phone.
Exactly. And that's, I generally talk about, the younger professionals, but that's something that happens across the board. I mean, from, young professionals all the way up through people our age. And when people our age are dealing with younger professionals, as much as they do it, they have a much more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but a much more resistant approach to that, because to them, that's another example of how we don't understand or respect them, even though they're doing the same thing. So we really have to, from our perspective, we really have to be mindful of that and how we're perceived by everybody.
Yes, we do. Because here's the thing. If you and I are having a conversation, you keep looking down at your phone, you keep checking your phone. If we're out to lunch and you keep flicking your phone up and down, I'm like, why am I here? And listen, I give tough love. And the closer you are to me, the more tough love I give you.
Yes.
And I'll just say, we could have stayed at home and been on our phones. We went to a nice dinner, or if I'm with a friend or something like that. If I'm with you, let's communicate. Otherwise, we could just send text messages later. But people, that's why I said this is not an epidemic; it's a pandemic.
Yeah.
Worldwide, people are so addicted to their phones. And I kind of envy these tribes over in Africa and other parts of the world who don't have technology, because they just live their lives. They don't know what the internet is. And guess what? They're thriving. They're fine. They go on, kill something and bring home. So, I mean, sometimes, I know this would dramatically affect our interview today, but it'd be nice if we could just turn the power grid off, not the electricity for our refrigerators and all that, but maybe the cell phone towers, 911 calls to get through, just so we can hey, let's not be on technology. That's one of the reasons why I started about 6 weeks ago. I started observing the Sabbath. Now, the Sabbath is a biblical concept, but breaking news, you don't have to be a believer to celebrate the Sabbath. All it is you take a day off from work. That could mean technology. So the only thing I do on the Sabbath is I read a lot, hang out with my wife, watch TV, go for my run. I do allow myself 15 minutes to check in on the only 2 social media platforms I'm active on, Substack and LinkedIn. That's it. The rest of the day, I'm just relaxing. And it doesn't have to be Sunday. You could take Tuesday off. But I think everyone needs to have one day they take off. They spend very minimal time on social media. When I say minimal, that doesn't mean 3 hours to 4. That means maybe 20 minutes. And read a book, watch some movies with your family, and just get some more one-on-one time with people. But people, when I tell them this, like, what? How am I supposed to do that? Well, you gotta, this technology is making us stressed. How productive are you going to be when you're stressed?
Well, you're not. And again, taking that one day off, you become so much more productive when you come back, right? Because for whatever reason, for me, it's, wow, you know what? I took that time off. I need to catch up from what I missed and get back to where we need to be. But it's maybe that's not even the best mindset. It's you take off, you reset, and you pick up wherever it is that you left off. You're not behind. You're right where you're supposed to be.
I heard a story in one of the books I've read. I'm an avid reader, where this guy wanted to become a real estate agent. So he was a Christian, as am I, and he decided, okay, I got my real estate license and I'm going to observe the Sabbath on Sunday. And all his real estate agents said, you're crazy. Sunday is the best day for showing property. He said, no, I'm convicted to take Sundays off. I'll be there Monday through Saturday. I'm taking Sundays off. They thought he was nuts. Well, guess what? At the end of the year, he sold more properties than everybody else did. And I'm not saying it's a blessing from God, but I think he rewarded himself saying, I'm going to dedicate this day to God, to my family, to relaxing. And he got rewarded for it. We think that we got to keep going. Maybe the secret is to stop and just don't do anything.
I think you're right. I definitely think that we as a whole, both individually and societally, would be much, much better off. Really would.
Yep.
But, you didn't grow up wanting to be Mr. Productivity. You kind of fell into it after getting fired. And now, before I go on, what everybody has to understand, especially people in younger generations, everybody is going to be fired, and that's okay. The day you get hired it's kind of like coaches in professional sports, right? The day you get fired is the day you should start preparing to be fired, right? Because it's going to happen. But after you got fired, you pivoted. And how did that experience reshape how you think about work and identity?
Well, I was raised by two very well-meaning parents. They both passed away by this time. And I just thought, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you retire, and you die. And I said, I reject that. So I would do, in the beginning, I did what my parents did. I just went to work and, I can't do anything. It's the weekdays. And I felt really constricted. And then when I was fired in 2005, I said, this is an opportunity. Even though I was very angry when I got fired, it was an opportunity to try something new. So I decided to become couldn't spell it, but I wanted to be one. And my first business was wedding and portrait photography, which failed. But the one thing that came out of that, now remember, we're talking 2005. We had Facebook, we have Twitter, not X, it was Twitter back then, and LinkedIn. We had email marketing and direct mail. And I'm a type of person back then, obviously not now, where I didn't want to speak in front of an empty room. And I went to a friend of ours in Bible study class and says, hey, how could this very extremely introverted person become a professional speaker, which is absolutely nuts when you think about it. And I got the bug. And so I started speaking to groups about how to take better pictures, but then I realized I did not want to tell people how to take better pictures. And so I invested in my first coach, and I normally identify as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. You younger generation, go Google Winnie the Pooh. And I was having an Eeyore moment. And the guy goes, well, what's going on? I'm like, well, I explained the situation. I want to speak, don't know what to speak about. And he goes, why don't you talk about productivity? And I said, well, that's weird. Where'd that come from? He goes, I know a lot of people, and you are one of the most naturally gifted people being productive. You should go share that gift with the world. And I'm like, isn't everybody just productive? He goes, no, most people don't have a clue. And so I launched Mr. Productivity. Back then, I wasn't known as Mr. Productivity. Someone on LinkedIn identified that in me. I was just going by my real name, Mark Struczewski. Don't look for markstruczewski.com because you probably can't spell my name, but MrProductivity.com is a lot easier. And I just found that people are drawn to me because I have a tendency, one of my principles is simplicity over complexity. Yes. And so I have a way of explaining things really simple so everybody can understand it. And so that's how I became Mr. Productivity.
And again, I love that because a lot of times people see things in us that we don't ever see, ever. And you were blessed to have somebody in your life that saw that in you and kind of nudged you or pushed you or threw you, however that actually happened, right? And you embraced it, right? Because again, if we don't see it, sometimes we fight it.
Yes.
Right? We fight it. And again, as an introvert standing on stages right here, I mean, it's something that you have to, it's a skill that you have to learn, just like anything else. And the more you do it, the more you do it, hopefully the better you get at it. If you make adjustments and changes and you listen to people that are trying to help you, if you do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get better at it. But my point is if you are interested in being better, you'll get better.
It goes back to what Robin Sharma said. It was speaking from the stage was hard at first. Then it got messy. Now it's absolutely gorgeous. So it applies to all areas of your life. But you can't go into something, whether it's becoming a speaker or creating a podcast or an author, whatever, with going, well, I hope I can. That's Eeyore.
Right.
We want to say, I will do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. We'll figure it out as we go along. And I just want to say one note. I think speaking and coaching are two things that AI will not affect. And here's why. Nobody's going to go to a conference and hear a robot up there walking on the stage. That's not going to happen. And everything I am teaching people on this podcast, or I teach my clients, yes, you can go to your favorite AI and it'll give you the same advice, probably better advice. But here's the thing. If you don't go to that app and have a conversation, it's not going to chase you down. It's not going to call you on the phone or text you.
Right.
And I think personal one-on-one coaching, whether it's over Zoom or Google Meet or in person, it's not going to go away, because people still want one-on-one. They want to see people's eyeballs. They want to be able to shake someone's hand. So I don't think AI is going to, the lazy people who are just phoning it in, yes, it'll affect them. But people who are really good at what they do, it won't affect them.
Won't affect them at all. I agree with that. And you said something a minute ago about being simple and not complex, right? Why do people gravitate towards complex and complicated systems, even though they don't work?
It's like the badge of honor. Like if I work 185 hours a week, I'm better than you. No, you're not, because your work after a certain period of time, this is proven by studies, after a certain number of hours, your efficiency goes down. So I think people will go, I want to make it complex. I'm like, why? I mean, when I get on a phone call with a client and I practice what I preach, I tell them, here's something you could do. And like, I'm paying you a lot of money to give me this simple piece of advice. I'm like, well, are you doing it now? Well, no. Well, let's start there. Okay. And they go do it, and all of a sudden they start getting momentum on their side. I think I specialize in helping people get unoverwhelmed, and I can't do that by entering complexity in the equation. I think as human beings, members of this big blue planet we call Earth, we got to get back to simplicity. When players go back to training camp, I don't care if you're Tom Brady or who you are. What do? They go back to the basics. He throws a football. He's been throwing a football for years. They go back to the basics to make sure his foundation and our foundation is solid. That is all about simplicity. Tom, can you still throw a football? Well, he doesn't sit there and go, oh, I've won 7 Super Bowls. Why do I have to do this? He knows it's part of the process.
Right.
So I think people will be doing themselves a great service if they keep going back and saying, how simple can I make this project or this task? And maybe you break up a complicated task into 20 simple tasks, but that's going to help you get more things done.
Yeah. And I literally had this conversation last night. We were sitting around a table, my wife and I and a few friends, and they're trying to take this one thing and make it really complicated. I said, number one, you guys need to stop. You're making my brain hurt. I mean, well, I don't understand why you would do all those things to get to this point. If you just do this thing and then this thing, you're not only are you going to have a better result, it's going to take you far less time. And they said, oh man, we never really thought of that. And I said, okay, great. But so we can now move on. I don't have to listen to that It literally gave me a headache. And these are smart people, right? And they sometimes, I think sometimes we get so in the weeds with things that we have ownership in, we can't see the forest for the trees, right? And it takes
100%.
somebody like a coach to be able to step back and see it from a different perspective and be able to give that nudge to the simple side.
One of my favorite questions I like to ask a client when they tell me they do this, I'm like, why? And I get this blank look on their face, like, huh? Why are you doing those things? I mean, you may have to do those things, but do you know why? And they're like,
right.
So how many people are listening to this podcast right now are doing things that they have no clue why they're doing them? That's a red flag. That should, your dashboard light should be flashing going, yeah, why am I doing this thing? So I really hope as a result of them listening to this podcast, they start questioning, why are they doing A, B, and C? And if you don't have an answer, here's a safe way to do it. You can stop doing it for a few days. And if the world doesn't end, do it a week. If the world doesn't end after that, maybe 2 weeks, then get rid of it completely. Because if you stop doing the things that don't need to get done, guess what? You have a lot more time to do. You have a lot more time to do what you actually really need to do.
Right. And maybe things that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
Or want to do, or, those types of things. And you just said something about ask why. And I'm thinking about, the two of us, same generation, we were really brought up to not ask questions. It's just do what you're told to do what you're told to do. And I always got in trouble because I asked a lot of questions. I mean, because things, if something doesn't make sense to me, or if I don't understand something, I'm not asking to be a jerk. I'm not asking to put people on the spot. I'm truly asking because I don't understand. I really want to know why things are the way that they are. And I think the people that are truly the most successful are the ones that ask a lot of good questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people are afraid of rocking the boat. That's something we used to say back in the 60s and 70s. But I don't think questions are a bad thing. Mm-hmm. You may say, oh, it's a stupid question. Maybe not. Maybe 8 other people want the same answer. Someone's got to ask the question first. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, one of the things I do when I'm speaking, I always go find out one of the extroverts and say, hey, will you be the first one to ask the question? Because as soon as he asks the question or she asks the question, then the floodgates open up. So I think questions are great. People like, what if I misspeak, or what if I trip over my tongue? I'm a professional. I'm not going to go, what? Can't you speak? Was you got a new tongue? I'm like, okay, well, I'll help you along, because I think questions unlock so much. And if people just get over their fear of asking questions, they're going to see their life is going to explode for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do you think people have that fear to ask a question?
Judgment. They fear they're going to be judged by the people around them. They go, well, what if I ask this question and other people go, oh, what a dumb question. Even though that person who's judging them is going, I really want to know the answer to that question.
It's true though. I 100% agree with you. And when I was teaching in the classroom, I would tell the students, look, I want leaders. I'm looking for leaders. I'm looking for people who, if you have a question, are going to ask it, because again, like you said, there's more than just you that has that question in this room. And if nobody asks that question, there won't ever be an answer, because I may not know what questions you have.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't know all those things. And that's where, you start asking questions, and that's where dialogue starts. Right. And that's where ideas really start becoming exchanged. And that's where things start to evolve and ideas start to evolve and minds are changed. But just asking good questions. And the piece I always end with is, you're worried about this person over here judging you, who doesn't even know you, who's not going to take care of you when you're broke, who's not going to worry about, you need to start thinking about, what's best for you. If these people don't want to ask questions, that's on them. You need to start thinking about what's best for you, and you getting the information that you need so that you can go off and do the things that's best for you.
Yep, I agree.
And then I get the bobblehead look. You know, it's and we laugh and joke, but I mean it's part of it, and they eventually get that message that it's also part of being a professional. And when you're a student, that's one thing, but it's also part of being a professional. And like you said, you know, performing a task at work, if you don't understand why you're actually performing that task, that to me is a problem. Like you said, you better figure out why. And maybe you have a better way of doing it. Maybe you have a more efficient way of doing it. Maybe that's something that they haven't even thought of yet. But that to me, that's part of being a professional to begin with. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, 1,350 plus podcast episodes. To me, that's wild. I mean, it really is. You know, podcasting, a lot of people don't realize how long podcasting has actually truly been around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really become more mainstream since COVID. How did you get involved in it, and how did you feel when you first started? Because I know how I felt when I first started.
Well, I got started back in 2017 when I happened to catch a video from Gary Vaynerchuk, and he said the future is voice and audio, and everyone needs to have a podcast. Probably 99.99% of the people saw that, went about their day, or scrolled to the next video. I went to Google and typed in, how do you start a podcast? And I started it on July 17, 2017. And the first podcast I recorded was not live. I was just sitting from my office and I was sweating bullets. I'm like, why was I so scared? I mean, nobody even knew I was doing anything yet. So yeah, I've got over 1,360 episodes now. And actually what's interesting is about a couple days ago, we're recording this on February, 12th, I think.
February 12th.
I decided I'm pausing the podcast because I have identified the big objectives for me for this year. I want to grow my coaching business. I'm doing that through speaking. Mm-hmm. So the three things I'm going to spend my time working on is obviously speaking outreach. That's number one. Number two, they're kind of 2A and 2B is Substack and LinkedIn. And number three is my email newsletter. I'm not taking the podcast off. I've got 1,360 episodes. There's plenty. If I could take 2-3 months off, you're not going to miss me. And here's the thing about having my own podcast. If I have an idea, I want to share this, I just go create a podcast episode. But I'm relieving myself of that obligation of creating a weekly podcast because the podcast is important to me, but I have other things. And this is one thing I always like talking about is priorities. People don't have their priorities nailed down. They're on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and X and LinkedIn and this, that, and the other thing, Threads, Blue Sky, you name it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a lot of time. And it took me a while to get it through my thick head. And so I identified, I want to grow my speaking business because it's really hard to speak, as you know. Not just anybody can become a speaker. So I'm going to lean heavily into that. And I'm using Substack, LinkedIn, and my email newsletter in order to get people to come to my website and thinking about maybe either hire me for as a speaker or a coach or something like that. So the podcast is not going away. I keep promoting it. It's all evergreen stuff. I don't talk about, I'm not a news podcast, so it's evergreen. And so that's I still can't believe I've got over 1,360 episodes. That's absolutely insane to me.
It's crazy. So let me ask kind of a different question. How has podcasting, really shaped your confidence and clarity as a communicator?
Oh, tremendously, because once you start doing a few episodes, you start wondering, wow, I could actually go live on platforms. I can actually speak from the stage. And if you can develop the gift of being a speaker, whether on a podcast or on a Zoom call or a webinar, people are going to want to hear more from you. Now, there's the whole, the hook, the storyline, and how to do webinars, but you got to have a communication skills. And I know people, and I'm kind of envious of them. They're horrible speakers and they make a buttload of money. And it's like, and they're like, like, how are you making so much money? You can't even speak correctly. And they're not even, it's not even a foreigner. They're native speakers and they go, and I'm like, and I see that they've made like $50,000, $100,000 on sales. I'm like, I had to give up. I couldn't take it because I can't take that. And I think the more you speak, number one, when you're out speaking in public, whether at a networking event or at your church or synagogue or mosque or whatever, when you are a better communicator, people listen to you because you're not using all these filler words. So to become a better communicator, there's no downsides to it.
No, there's not. There really isn't. And you're absolutely right, because, doing this, there's a level of preparation, just like in any other type of communication. If you don't prepare, you're going to get the uhs and the ums and all those other things, right? So there's a level of preparation that needs to be done, and you have to be able to take that preparation, synthesize it, have that conversation, be able to think on your feet, be able to listen and respond. And that's not something that is a natural thing for people to do. And if you can do it here, not all that stuff transfers into being on a stage, but a lot of it really does. The preparation does, the back and forth does, the being able to think on your feet does, the being able to answer a question based on research that you've done because you know who you're going to go in and talk to. That stuff really does translate. I've got maybe 200 episodes out of 2 podcasts. And if you go back to the first episodes of each of these things, I just want to delete them. I want to get rid of them. But, people say leave them. And I say, yes, I'm going to leave them because you can go back and look and see growth. And that's really what we want from our clients as well. We want to be able to show them growth. We want them to be able to see, wow, this is what happens when you put the work in, and be able to and follow through and have that discipline. I would suggest to everybody, figure out what that is for you. Figure out what that discipline is going to be for you, and get started. But if someone remembers only one thing from our conversation today, what's the simplest productivity principle that would immediately improve how they work and communicate?
Oh, it's so difficult to pick just one, but I'm gonna share about what I call my micro breaks, because we sit behind these computer screens for way too long. And if we're not on this big screen, we're on the little screen of our phones. I want to encourage people to go outside. Now, I live in Houston, Texas. If you're up north, you can still do this. Go outside. Don't be on your technology. If it's cold, get a jacket. If it's raining, get an umbrella. Don't go out in a lightning storm. And just be quiet for 5 minutes. Don't think about anything. Don't be on your phone. Don't talk to anyone. These micro breaks will give you a really all-natural boost of energy. Now, if you live in an area that is more conducive, you could do what I do. Take your shoes and socks off, stand on the grass. Now, we had a couple cold days a couple weeks ago, and I went outside. I do this thing in the morning when I let the dogs out. I go out and ground with my bare feet, and I squat for 4 minutes to keep my hip flexors intact. 17 degrees was the coldest day I've ever done it. I've also went running when it was 21 degrees. And a couple years ago, we had 4 inches of snow. I actually shoveled a 6x6 section of my backyard, and I grounded out there. Why do I do this? I'm not better than anyone else, but to prove you, I don't make excuses. It's 4 minutes. I was dressed from the top of my head to my ankles. It's 4 minutes. You're not going to get frostbite in 4 minutes. Now, if you live up in Minnesota and it's 14 below zero, don't do this. But I'm just saying, taking micro breaks outside and close your eyes too, because this way your eyes don't have to process anything for 4 minutes. It'll let me know if you do this and you don't get anything different, because I've never had anyone tell me, yeah, I did that micro break thing. It made me more anxious. No, it'll calm you down. Trust me.
Yeah. I think if somebody said to you, you're a liar. Either you haven't done it or you're lying.
Yeah.
But that's awesome advice. It really is. But where should people go if they want to learn how to simplify their work and eliminate overwhelm without turning productivity into a second job? Because I get that a lot too. Oh gosh, then I've got to do all this other stuff. No. It's not how it happens. Where should they go?
Just go to my website, mrproductivity.com. You got to spell out the word Mr. So don't go MR productivity. It's MISTER, mrproductivity.com. At the very top, you can sign up to get my free 10-question productivity scorecard. It'll give you a pretty much assessment where you are with your productivity. It's a scale of 1 to 50. Nobody's got a 50. No one's got a 0. So you're somewhere between 0 and 50. And then you can also check out my podcast, which, although I'm not putting new episodes out now, it's the link is on the website. You can also find out where I am on LinkedIn and Substack. That's all on my website, MrProductivity.com.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Mark, I can't tell you, there's a lot of gold in this. I mean, we're on for, 45, 50 minutes. You have provided so much useful information. I can't thank you enough for doing that for us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thanks. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Forming for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.